Hello, and welcome to Philosophy 181 Ethics. I'll be your instructor for the semester. My name is Jeff Fisher. I've been at Loyola now for this will be my third year, and I've taught ethics. I don't even know how many times at this point, but this will be the first time I've taught it entirely online. So we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. What I want to do now is lay out for you the way the course is going to work, what my expectations of you are, what work you're going to have to do, how you're going to be graded, in general, the nuts and bolts of the course, how it's going to work. All right, so the course is going to be run through a website that I've emailed the link to you. And you can also find the site on Sakai, and I'm going to bring it up right now. There we go. So this is what you're going to see when you go to that site. First thing you see is the schedule, and then you see the rest of the kind of syllabus information. What you're mostly going to be using throughout the semester is the schedule. That's why I put it up front. We'll return to the schedule in just a second. First, I'm not going to read through it, but just give you a general sense of what the course is about. Well, think of it as something like an introduction to ethics, an introduction to ethical theorizing. And the way that the course is structured is supposed to give you something like that introduction. So what I'm going to do, we're going to have kind of two distinct parts to the course. The second part is actually longer than the first part. They're not equal in length. During the first part of the course, what we're going to do is we're going to try to understand, try to reflect on how moral and ethical language is used in today's culture, in today's society, how it shows up, how it functions. That's what the first part of the course is concerned with. What kinds of considerations do we appeal to when we discuss moral issues, when we engage in ethical theorizing? What does our ethical theorizing look like? And the way that we're going to proceed in this first part of the course is by looking at a particular example. We're going to look at an example of an ethical issue. We're going to look at how people discuss it today. And the issue that we're going to be discussing is abortion. And so what we're going to be looking at in the first part of the course, and this will be most of the first part of the course, is arguments around abortion, arguments in favor of its moral permissibility, arguments that it's morally impermissible. The main point that I'm trying to drive home in this section of the course, in this unit, I'm not trying to convince you of the pro-life or the pro-choice position. I'm not trying to convince you one way or another of what stand to take on abortion. Rather, we're using this debate as a kind of illustration of how moral deliberating, of how ethical theorizing works in our world, in our culture. And so we're going to see people appeal to all different kinds of things, see people appeal to rights. We're going to see people appeal to this idea of a person, see people appeal to utility or the greater good or the natural law or all kinds of things, the moral law, right? That's what we're going to be examining in this first part of the course. We're looking at the kind of best arguments that people have given, best, most influential arguments that people have given concerning the morality of abortion. The second part of the course, which is going to be most of the course, what we're going to be doing is looking at where those considerations came from. So we today find it natural as anything to talk about the rights that we might have. But people have only been talking about rights for roughly 500 years, if even. Where did that come from? Why did people start talking about rights? Another way to get at the kind of perplexing issue, what's kind of perplexing about this. Other cultures, cultures that haven't been westernized to any degree, don't talk about rights. They don't even have words really that could be translated right in the sense in which we use the word rights. So why do we talk about rights, but then other cultures don't? Where did that come from? What we're going to look at in the second part of the course are the sources of the moral considerations that we appeal to. So we appeal to utility, we appeal to rights, we appeal sometimes maybe to virtue or to the natural law or to happiness. Where did this come from? And what I hope to illustrate and show for you is that that the moral considerations that we think of as natural and as a given were actually formulated, discovered, or perhaps invented by various philosophers. They were given their canonical formulation by various philosophers. And to really understand what we're saying when we talk about rights or utility or happiness or whatever it might be, we need to understand the sources of our moral terminology, of these moral considerations. And so that's what we're going to be examining in the second part of the course. And so the second part of the course, focusing on the sources of moral considerations, of our moral considerations. The second part of the course is going to focus on historical figures. It's going to focus on the history of philosophy. So we're going to be reading Aristotle. We're going to be reading Aquinas and Locke and Kant and Mill and other, that's most of them actually. We're going to be reading the philosophers throughout history who have articulated these ethical views, these moral considerations. That's going to be the second part of the course. That's going to be our introduction to ethics and to ethical theorizing. Okay. Now, the way that the course is going to work is something like the following. So if you look back up at the schedule, you'll see it's broken down into weeks. And each of the weeks is going to be a link. The only week that's even close to being fully having all the material on it is week 1. So let's click on week 1. And you're going to find something like this for every week that comes up. So there's going to be a section with announcements. You can find this video that I'm under the announcements for week 1. You don't see it there right now on your screen because I'm making the video right now. You will find all of the reading assignments listed here, right? So it'll say the reading assignment and it'll tell you what to read. So Roe versus Wade, that's going to be our first reading, the Supreme Court decision. We're not reading the whole thing. We're only reading sections 8 to 11. All of the readings are going to be put up on the website and they'll be available as PDFs. And so you just click on it and it should open up. Hopefully it works. There we go. Roe versus Wade, there it is. There's a PDF of the reading that you have. Your assignment was section 8 to 11. So there's section 1, section 2, right? Don't read the whole thing. Only read sections 8 to 11. I mean, you can read the whole thing if you want. You have it all. But it's kind of boring. I don't know. Anyways. Sections 8 to 11, right? And all of the weeks are going to have links to the readings like that. So there's no need to buy any books for this course. All of the readings are going to be made available on the website as PDFs. Okay, so you're going to have your reading assignment. There might be some announcements. The announcements could take the form of videos. They could take the forms of me just writing something there. But check the announcements. If there's videos there, watch the videos, read the announcements if I've written something out. Then you have your reading assignment. That's the reading assignment for the week. That's what you have to read for that week. You need to read it by Friday. If you want to read it Monday, great. If you want to read it Thursday, that's fine too. If you want to read it throughout the week, whatever. Knock yourself out. Do whatever you like. Read it whenever you like, but make sure it's read by Friday. And then there are our lecture videos. So I've already made the videos for the first week and they're all up here on the website and you can just click the play button and they'll start playing. And you can enlarge it to make it full screen if you like. I'm trying to keep the videos on the shorter side. In total, the videos, what you can expect, the videos will be about, in total, about an hour and a half to 2 hours each week. Try to keep it shorter, but it's supposed to mimic in-class time if we were doing the class in person, right? So it's not going to be any longer than what we would have had were we meeting in person. Watch all the videos. Yeah, I break them up into a series of different lectures. I try not to make, an hour and a half video because it's hard to sit there for an hour and a half watching a thing. So you can take it piecemeal. And you can watch the videos at your leisure when you like. If you want to watch them all on Monday, great. If you want to watch them all on Thursday, that's fine. If you want to break it up over the course of the week, fine. But watch the videos by Friday. So you have to do the reading by Friday. You have to watch the videos, the lectures by Friday. And then the last thing that you'll find on the page down at the bottom are discussion questions. Those are going to be the discussion questions for the discussions that we have on Fridays. And I'll talk about those in just a second. So you'll find something like this for every week. Yeah. So let's go back to the main page. So on Friday of each week, you're going to be required to attend and participate in a discussion group. How is that going to work? I am going to assign you to discussion groups, and I will send a Zoom meeting link out to all the members of your discussion group. The discussions are going to occur on Friday at the beginning of the scheduled class time. So when we would have had class, when the class is scheduled for, that's when the discussion meeting happens. That's when you need to be at your computer, click on that Zoom link, go into the discussion group. There are going to be roughly 6 to 7 students per discussion group. And you're going to have a series of things that you're going to need to do. And I outline them here on the course website. I'm going to change up this. You'll have there are 4 units to the course, as you can see up here. And each unit, I'm going to change up the discussion groups. So you'll have the same discussion group for every week during unit 1, then it gets changed up, and then unit 2, and so on, right? But I'll send out links to the Zoom meeting for you guys in due course. All right, so what do you do in these discussion groups? You have 3 main tasks. You're going to first talk through answers to the discussion questions. So those were the questions at the bottom of the week. Right? Let me go back and show you again. So you click on week 1. Down here, these are the discussion questions. You're going to talk through answers to those questions in your discussion groups. This is why it's important to have done the reading and watched the videos prior to Friday. Because if you haven't, you'll be unprepared for the discussion. So the first thing is you do is you're going to talk through those questions. And then you're going to write up answers to those questions. You're going to write up the answers as a group. You will write them up in a Google Doc, which I am going to send around to all of the group members. All of the group members will be able to edit it. It'll be one Google Doc per section. And so all of the groups from one section of the class are going to have access to the same Google Doc. I'll send out an email with that Google Doc. You'll have access to that Google Doc. You'll be assigned to a group. So here's the Google Doc. Here's what you'll find when you open it up. You'll be assigned to either Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D, or Group E. What you do on Fridays when you have your discussion, so you log on to the Zoom meeting and there's the other 5 or 6 students for you to discuss things with. You go to your group. Let's say you're assigned to Group C. Well, you can click on Group C here in the left margin. Incidentally, if you don't see that, you can just click right there and it'll pop back up, right? You can click on Group C there and it'll just take you there, or you can just scroll there. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there. All right, so you're in Group C. You open up this Google Doc. Everybody else is there. You're talking about things. You start talking about the discussion questions, and you just start typing up your answers here, right? Like I'm doing. The answer is blah, 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 whatever, right? And you can try to spell answer correct. And then you do the second one, blah, blah, whatever. You type up your answers there. Perfect. And since you all can edit the Google Doc, you can all edit the answers and add and so on. Second thing I want you to do, going back over here, write up questions of your own for me. There's a space for doing that. Why are you so bad at explaining? I don't know what you want to ask, whatever. Trying to make, you can make your questions nicer than that, but if something was unclear from the lectures, from the lecture videos, or if you're curious about what the author we're reading would say about some other issue that the author doesn't discuss, ask it. That's the kind of question I'm looking for, right? And then I give you some other examples of, not quite examples, but kind of guidelines or suggestions for how to come up with questions right here, right? Ask a question or two in the space provided for you right here, right? That's what would go there. Ask a question or two. And then what I would like you to do, so those are the main tasks you have as a group, but in order to take attendance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each group member to type their own name in this third section on the document. So I would type Jeff Fisher, if I remember my name. And then whoever, whatever. The next person would write their name below that and whatever. Everyone writes their name there in the Google Doc. Don't write the name of someone who isn't there. Only write your own name. I can see who edits the document. And so I can see if you just wrote somebody else's name. So don't do that. That's cheating. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. Just write your own name. And that's what you're going to do on every Friday, except for those Fridays when we have exams. So there, and we'll get to the exams in just a second. So most Fridays you'll have a discussion, and I anticipate that, you just have to answer the questions and then come up with your own questions. How long that takes, well, that's kind of up to you. I anticipate, I don't know, roughly half an hour should be how long these discussions should take. And so that's discussion sections or your discussion groups. With regard to grading, there are going to be 2 papers and 4 exams. Start with exams. The 4 exams are all going to be given on Sakai, and they're all going to be given on a Friday originally assigned for the class. There will be announcements for the exams. I'll let you know. I'll try to let you know well in advance when the exams happen. But roughly speaking, they happen at the end of the unit. So you go up and look at the schedule. The last day in each unit is when the exam will be. None of the exams will be cumulative. All of the exams are just going to cover the material since the previous exam. So that first unit, Contemporary Moral Discourse, that's going to be all this material we covered is going to be on that exam. But now the second unit, it's on Virtue and Happiness. It's on Aristotle, basically. We're going to be reading Aristotle in Unit 2. The Unit 2 exam, so the exam given on October 16th, is just going to cover Aristotle. There's not going to be anything about abortion on it, right? And then the Unit 3 exam on the natural law, it's Aquinas. Unit 3 exam given on November 6th. It's just going to be on Aquinas and the natural law. It's not going to touch on Aristotle. It's not going to touch on the material from the first unit. Each of the exams is worth 17.5% of the grade for a total of 70%. So the exams are the main component of your overall grade. They account for 70% of your overall grade. You're going to have 2 papers. The first paper counts for 10%, the second paper for 20%. The first paper will be short, a page or 2. I'll give more details about how to write the papers, what I'm looking for, etc. when becomes closer, when the due date is a little bit closer. The second paper will be slightly longer, 3 to 4 pages, say. It'll be worth 20% of your grade, and it will be due during finals week. There is no final exam for this class. There is no final cumulative exam. There's no midterm exam. You have the 4 unit exams, and that's it. Instead of having a final exam, what you will be doing is writing your paper, turning your second paper in. Your second paper is due on the date that we are scheduled to have a final exam. So even though we don't have a final exam, the powers that be in the university, they schedule a final exam time slot for us. That's when your second paper is due. You don't have an exam, your second paper is due then. And you'll turn your papers in by email. It's pretty straightforward. Now, the last thing that I want to discuss with regard to grading is what I call preparation and participation. I say you get a bump for that. One thing you might notice, between the exams and the papers, that's 100%. 30% for your paper, 70% for your exams, that's 100% of your grade. And for the vast, vast majority of you, your final grade is simply going to be determined by the weighted average of your papers and exams. That's it. But I say preparation and participation, you can earn a bump. And what does that mean? If your preparation and participation are not very good, that is to say, if you don't show up to your discussion meetings, right? That's really the avenue for participation and preparation is those, that's how you show that you've prepared and that you participate is in these discussion meetings. If you don't show up to them, you risk having your overall grade bumped down. What does a bump down mean? Let's say your overall grade, your weighted average of papers and exams is 87.1%. That is a B+. I use a standard 100-point grading scale. 87.1 would be a B+ on such a grading scale. But let's say you miss 3 discussion section meetings, right? You miss a number of discussion section meetings. You risk having your 87.1, which should be a B+, would be a B+, but you've missed all these meetings. You risk having that bumped down to a B. You risk your overall grade becoming a B, right? That's how I factor in preparation and participation. You don't show up to your meetings on Friday, your overall grade can get bumped down. By contrast, if you show up to all of your meetings, and you're writing the answers, right? I can check and see who writes the answers. You are creating you might earn yourself a bump up. That is to say, let's say your overall grade is at 89.4. That's a B+. 89.4 is a B+. But you showed up to every discussion meeting. You might get that grade bumped up to an A-. Now, the bump, it's not going to be huge. I'm not going to take someone at an 87.5 and bump them up to a A-. But if you're close, if you're in the 89 range and you go to every meeting, well, yeah, then you could get bumped up to an A-. So that's how I'm going to factor in preparation and participation. That's the course in a nutshell. The best way to get a hold of me, even if there weren't a pandemic going on right now, would be through email. So if you have questions about what's going to be expected of you, about what you find here on the course website, if something's not working, whatever it might be, feel free to email me. I will not hold regular office hours. Instead, I'll have office hours by appointment. I'm more than happy to set up Zoom appointments to answer questions that you may have, or to discuss about whatever it is, whatever you want to discuss. I'm happy to discuss the material with you. If something was unclear, you could set up in a Zoom appointment. We can talk about the material. We'll set those up over email, though. And my email is kind of all over here, right? jfisher8@luc.edu. If you also click on office hours, I believe it should just tell you what my email is and say it's by appointment. There you go. So that's how you can get a hold of me. And one last thing I meant to say that I just remembered. about exams. We'll have a review session for the exams, and there will be a review sheet that I hand out, or that I'm not going to hand it out, that I'll put up on the website for the exam. So prior to the exams, usually about a week prior, I will have a review sheet ready that will direct your studying for the exam, and there will be a review session. I'm still working out the details of how the review sessions will go, but I'll let you know. I'll communicate with you to let you know how those review sessions will happen. All right. If you have any questions, please do feel free to be in touch. I'm looking forward to how this semester is going. I wish I could get to the main regret I have about regret. I don't know if it's regret, but the main bad thing about this semester, in my view, is that I won't really get to interact as much with you all. It's kind of one way here. I'm just looking at this camera. I'm not really looking at you guys. I'm not going to be able to get you to know you guys as well as I otherwise would. And that really is probably the best part of teaching, is getting to know you. And so all that to say, feel free to reach out and be in contact. I'm more than happy to meet with you over Zoom and discuss any issues you have, or just to discuss philosophy. So hopefully I'll be seeing you through the semester, and best of luck with your online learning this semester.